What's going on, geeks and gamers? We are here for the Gaming with Geeks podcast, episode 8, I think. Episode 8 of this. So 2 months of the Gaming with Geeks podcast, still going strong. We had 50 people waiting for us today. I'm glad you guys are here and ready to talk some gaming, even though, we thought about, pushing it back. Too many things going on in the world, but we decided, no, let's bring you the entertainment that you guys deserve and keep the podcast rolling. And with me, as always, we have Mark the Cyborg. How are you doing, Mark?
Hello, everybody. I'm good. I'm nervous about being able to get through this entire podcast while staying as apolitical as I normally do.
Well, you're Canadian. I'm sure you'll be fine.
Can't we all just get along, eh?
Lethal Lightning. How are you doing?
I'm same old, up too late, too early in the morning, bitching about the cold and just having a jolly good time complaining. I'm like the exact opposite to Mark. Mark's all about let's all be happy, and I'm going, no, let's just complain about something.
Mark just wants to be friends. Lethal just wants to be enemies. That's what it is. I see. Well, and I'm here too, like always, and we have some stuff to talk about. Obviously, one of the big things going on this week in gaming has been something that's a big thing going on in the world, and we will get to that in a little bit once we get a bigger audience here. But first, I see a lot of things in the chat. Did someone finally cancel Jeremy? Yes. Jeremy's canceled. Jeremy has been canceled. I finally just took over Geeks and Gamers. Jeremy's done. He's out of here. You probably won't see him again. Good riddance. That's what we say. But no, he had a long night working on stuff, so he's probably not going to be here. But that's a good thing because we don't have to talk about garbage Nintendo unless something comes up. But the first thing that I want to talk about, and thank you guys for all being here in the chat. I see Krista in the chat. I see Darkside Droids, Broba Fett, Lonely Mist, everybody. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is the launch of Valorant and how it has not been going very well. At least to a lot of observers. Now, Mark, obviously, out of all of us, you're the one who's actually played Valorant. You've done a couple videos on it, have one ready to go for Gaming with Geeks not long after this podcast is over. But why don't you explain to everybody a couple of the struggles they've had in the launch of Valorant?
All right, so Valorant is a free-to-play game that was in closed beta over the last almost 3 months. It was a very long beta period in which you had to watch the game being streamed on Twitch in order to be sent a closed beta key. I actually did get into that beta and played a fair amount of it, and that was the basis of my video for Gaming with Geeks. And it finally launched on June 2nd, so now it's a free-to-play game that anyone can download. It is a game that is very much like Counter-Strike as far as the way it's played. It's round-based. You have a defensive phase and an offensive phase. It's teams where if you get killed once, you're dead until the end of the round. First team to 13 round wins. So what happened on Metacritic, at least, is it seems that a lot of Counter-Strike players who probably did not even play the game went and review bombed it. That's a thing that will happen, though. And to counteract that, a lot of Valorant players have been going on and giving the game 10 out of 10 when it's probably, realistically, I like the game a lot. I play it a fair amount, and I don't like scoring games, but I'd say it would be safe to give it like a 7. It's not like a game that will blow your mind, but it's a pretty fun tactical shooter. And if you've got a group of people to play it, it's quite good. So the 3.4 that it was averaging was a bit rough. I think, now it's up to 5.7. So it's climbing a bit.
The idea that review bombing it only happens in one way is a farce, right? Games are not just review bombed; they're also review lifted, right? That's what's happening. Mm-hmm. You literally have this one saying, "Game is so good, it's getting review bombed," and then they leave a 10.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's you have the people that are hating on the game giving it 0s, and you have the game people that are just needlessly praising it or we're giving it way more than it deserves, giving it 10s. And that's why you see the Metacritic user scores balancing out to a 5.7. I think this is one of the issues with Metacritic even existing, because you don't have to verify that you've played the game or put a certain amount of hours in the game in order to give a Metacritic score. You can just be a fan of CSGO, see a CSGO competitor hop on, or an Overwatch competitor hop on there and give it a 0, and that's that. But the more sort of tangible issues, if you take Metacritic out of the equation, where North America had a bunch of more. North America and Brazil had a bunch of restarts. So like you would be entering a game, select your characters, and then it would just go back to the character selection screen, or it would boot you back to the menu. On the first couple days, I didn't play until the second day, and I didn't really have any issues myself. Europe and Asia, though, actually had to have the game pulled down for unscheduled maintenance. Like it was just like, okay, we got to actually like take the game down for like several hours, and there was no warning for that. So a bunch of European and Asian players just all of a sudden couldn't play. And in New Zealand, is probably the funniest bit, is they uploaded an older build of the game that apparently had some unrated adult content in it. So now Valorant is like stuck in ratings limbo in New Zealand, and it's pulled down indefinitely. So I'm kind of wondering what that adult content was, but like,
one of the things too that I've looked at, you know, when I've been listening to a couple different people talk about it, obviously Riot Games paid people to play this game.
Oh, absolutely.
Riot Games paid Twitch streamers to play this game, which is why, you know, for those several weeks, Valorant was huge, because all the biggest Twitch streamers were playing Valorant because they were paid to do so. So even if they didn't like the game or not, they were obviously hyping it up while they were on stream. And now you're seeing a larger portion of people being able to access and play this game, and the reviews are a little mixed. The Metacritic critic review, it's like an 83 or something, but I don't. The critic review, I don't really care about.
Yeah,
but
it's a pretty game that runs well, so obviously it's an 8 out of 10 from IGN at least. Like,
exactly. What do you make of all this, Lethal?
Well, I just brought it up on Twitch then to have a look, and as this moment right now, it's the third most popular game on Twitch with just under 220,000 viewers. So I don't know if it's still in its honeymoon phase or anything like that, but I fully agree with Mark when it comes to Metacritic. I think Metacritic's a pretty broken system. As much as we all like to rag on Rotten Tomatoes, I honestly think Metacritic's not that much better, because, like Mark said, there's no way to prove you actually played it. Like, you get all these people that are just the giant Overwatch fanboys or whatever, like that guy that did the review on IGN. And like Mark says, he sees a game that comes in, it's like a competitor in that type of field, so he goes and leaves a 0 on it when he hasn't even played it. Or, you know, honestly, what game, like, there are some pretty bad games out there, but how many games can you think of off the top of your head that really, like, truly, honestly deserve a 1-star rating? Not many. Like, this whole thing just becomes like a battle of who has the most fans, and, you know, it turns into this whole other argument, when really I feel it should be about objectively putting aside all the crap and giving the game a fair review. And I feel like because we don't have that, it leads to more issues down the line. And I mean, look at the game journalists and all that crap. So it's a massive domino effect, and I don't really like Metacritic either. I feel the best way to judge a game is to play it for yourself. If you're interested in it, you know, something that takes your fancy, you talk about it yourself, you like it, whatever, you speak to a friend who has a similar interest to you, and, you know, get it from reliable sources like Gaming with Geeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of why I don't score the reviews I make on here. I guess the only way in which I like the Titanfall video I just put out, I have in the sort of separate series that I say, A Game of Unbridled Awesomeness, which is a bit of a nod to Amalur, but also, like, I don't give a lot of games that category. It's mostly just older games, or I think the only new one I gave was Doom Eternal, but games that are really, really good. And I'm just like, I love this game, so I'm going to give it the Game of Unbridled Awesomeness title. But for the most part, I try to use the content of my actual script and like the words I'm saying about the game in order to infer what the score might be. Because I think once you boil it down to like 8 out of 10 or 5.4 out of 10 or 7.8 out of 10, too much water, it just becomes like an argument about math, where it's like, you can't give The Last of Us an 8.5 and give Uncharted 4 an 8.6. That's stupid. It's like, well, like, you guys are talking nonsense, though. Like, the numbers don't really matter.
Especially, too, when it gets down to, say you're doing a review of Mario Kart. You know what I mean? Like, how is a Mario Kart review supposed to relate to The Last of Us Part 2, right? You know what I mean? Because they're so different, and when you are just rating them, oh, yeah, it's an 8 or something. Well, what does that even mean? So I hear where you're saying, where that's coming from.
Have you noticed how whenever there's like a numbering system, they always, a lot of games always tend to fall into like that 7 area. It's like that safety oh, it's okay, it's not amazing, it's not bad. They always end up around the 7 mark. It's like the safety score. And I think you nailed it on the head there, Ryan. Like, how do you compare games that are completely different? You can't. You just can't.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing about putting them on the same scale. Like, and
Exactly.
like anytime you have a score system, it becomes okay, you actually can look at the Pokemon game that's 7.8 out of 10, too much water. And then if a game like, I don't know, Vanquish gets a 7.5, you'd be like, okay, well, I mean, maybe Vanquish is, when it came out, had a bunch of frame rate issues on Xbox 360 and PS3. Maybe it was a 7.5 out of 10. But at that point, you're just arguing the math, not the actual content of the review, and that's what seems silly to me.
You got to compare a Gran Turismo to a Halo. It's like, I don't see how you can.
Yeah,
apples and oranges.
Yeah. Jay Rickman with the $3.50 super chat. Thank you so much, Jay Rickman. Appreciate you, my man. I see Biggles Mets is here. A couple more people piling in. Yeah, like I've watched you play it, Mark. It looks okay. It's probably
actually, I've played it with Biggles.
Yeah, you've played it with Biggles. I think Krista's playing it too now, right?
Oh, seriously? That I didn't know, but
maybe she was talking about something else in the chat. Maybe she was answering someone's question.
Well, she can. Krista's PC is up and running, and it is a free game. But just, I guess, do some research on the anti-cheat software, because a lot of people get turned off by that. Also know that if you give any money to the game, Riot Games is 100% owned by Tencent, so you're basically giving money to the Chinese government. But I mean, I don't know.
Exactly.
It's you gotta pick your battles, and that's not one I fight super strongly, because Tencent owns like Snapchat and Uber and like that. They've got their hands in a lot of pies. So if you want to totally boycott Tencent, you're gonna have to do some research to keep that consistent, because they own a lot.
Did you say they own Uber?
They have stock in Uber, so like they own
a
portion of it, and I believe Lyft as well. So
there you go. Be careful who you call from the airport. Lancelot 652 for $5. Mark's going haywire, throwing shade at IGN. No more nice Canadian.
Okay, like I don't hate IGN. I think like they do some good news coverage, but mostly because they're like an access media outlets. And actually, I mean, one of like the people who sort of got me into this industry, Colin Moriarty, had me on his podcast in 2018, and that's sort of what got me on this track of like making content and everything. And he got his start at IGN, so I don't think nothing good can come out of there. I just think that their system of rating it's kind of the meme that like an IGN score isn't from 1 to 10, it's from 7 to 10.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I wouldn't go to IGN for honest criticism. You can kind of go there to get an initial impression of a game, and the best thing to do is ignore their score. Like, just watch their actual review, listen to what they're actually saying, and then infer from what they're saying about the game whether or not you'd enjoy it. Don't be like, oh, IGN gave this a 10, I need to buy this game, because you might hate it.
I've always said I'm one of those people that falls in line with you can't spell ignorant without IGN.
That's a good one.
Never been a fan. I remember being in high school and seeing some of their reports and their videos on Kingdom Hearts and being like, you've just got this all wrong. That's not what the character's name is. That's not what that world is. That's not what that... How are you a joke? Like, I've had it in.
Hey, X-Ray Girl's here.
Mark, don't interrupt. Don't interrupt people's point just to say hi to a person who lives in your house.
I simp for my girlfriend. I've been honest about this forever.
Simp. Yeah, that's okay.
Mark the simp board.
You get one simp per podcast. Use it wisely. That's the rule. Lethal, you too.
Who am I going to simp for?
I don't know.
Oh, Steph's here.
There you go. There's your choice. But we are going to move on after that Valorant launch. It's got issues. A lot of games have issues. It's surprised with how big the beta was, though, that they did have some of those issues they initially had.
There was one point I wanted to bring up because I actually left it out of my video. There has been some issues with people not getting the currency because if you spent any money during the beta, all of that content you bought goes away, but you get back 120% of your currency. So if you spent $10, you get like $12 back when the game launches. And some people were not getting theirs. I found out, though, that was when people switched their region. So if, say, Lethal switched his region to North America so that he could get in the beta before it was in Australia, then it launched and he started playing in Australia. That's what caused the issue with the currency going away. So that's an addendum to my video that isn't out yet. I found that out after I'd finished it.
There you go. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting. But, we thought that we were going to get a lot of interesting gaming news this week. We were looking towards the PS5 gameplay reveal that we were going to do a live stream on this channel. That obviously didn't happen. Because of everything going on in the world, gaming companies are taking this opportunity to speak out against everything. And we wanted to go through some of those things for you guys. Obviously, like Mark said, there's a lot of hot button topics going out, but I think it's relevant, and I think we do need to talk about this stuff because so many people out there are doing things 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days. They're waiting after what happened to George Floyd. They're waiting that long to speak out, only when it's political or when they get good enough PR to be able to do it. And I think a lot of this stuff is virtue signaling. So, for instance, Electronic Arts announced they're delaying their EA Play Live. With the important conversations taking place and important voices being heard around the world right now, we're moving our time to come together in play. We'll see you on June 18th. I guess everything will be okay by June 18th. I guess that's what their hope is. PlayStation, like we said, we've decided to postpone the PlayStation 5 event scheduled for June 4th. We understand gamers worldwide are excited. We do not feel now that it's the right time for celebration. And for now, we want to stand back and allow more important voices to be heard. Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red, they moved Night City Wire to June 25th for the same things. We wholeheartedly stand against racism, intolerance, and violence. Black Lives Matter. Everything is being canceled for everyone, evidently, because we can't do YouTube videos. We can't do live streams. All we can do is let other people talk. What were you guys' thoughts as you started seeing all these announcements come down from the video game industry?
You want to go first, Mark? You're above me.
All right.
I'll go if you don't mind.
I don't know. It's I think that it's sort of that's pretty much me. Lethal making a good point, and then I say hi to X-Wriggle. But anyways, back to the hot button political top tech that I'm going to be tiptoeing around. I think that all of the companies are in a bit of a weird position once one company does that, because if one company says we don't think it's the right time to be talking about a video game because there's more important things going on in the world, it sort of makes all the companies around them that were going to do something look bad if they don't follow suit. So I think, though, it sort of ultimately comes down to like brand decides to show like sort of non-specific support for social cause because we want points. And I don't know. I think that like it's why if anyone follows me on like Twitter or anything like that, I don't really ever comment on political issues because that's not what people are following me to hear about. Like I talk about video games. I have political opinions. I just don't really share them publicly because I have no reason to. There's no one that cares really what I think about a political topic. So I just don't speak about it. And I think it's a little silly when entertainment companies, like, for example, Disney doing the like, yeah, we wholeheartedly stand behind John Boyega. And then like you see all the people sharing the thing. It's like, oh, except when you made him like microscopic in the Chinese poster for Force Awakens because you were worried how like the Chinese market will react to having a black guy in a starring role. So it's like, do they really care? Probably not. Are they in a position where if they don't say they do, they'll face negative backlash? Probably. So I don't know. It's a weird situation. And I try to just focus on talking about the things people want me to talk about, which are video games, and leave it at that.
And
Yeah,
well, go ahead, Lethal.
I'm similar. Like I don't really have many political views. I'm a very apolitical person in general, but it's hard to talk about this subject and avoid the issue, but I'm going to do my best. I'm disappointed as a gamer. Like I was looking forward to the PS5 reveal. I was looking forward to a lot of these things. This is normally around the time of the year where we start getting a lot of announcements and seeing some trailers. A lot of hype starts to build up around this time. So yeah, I am disappointed in that. But my thing is, I don't believe that a lot of these companies believe what they're saying themselves. I mean, I think the Bethesda was like the perfect example of that. But another thing was what we were talking about before the stream started, was that I'm dead set convinced that some of these companies, mainly PlayStation, Sony, are having issues with whatever their product is, and they're using this as like a bit of a smoke screen so they can delay their own stuff without saying, hey, we're delaying it again. Because, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of delays this year, whether it be due to the virus, their own fuck-ups, and now this. Delay after delay after delay, it just doesn't look good. So they're kind of using this as a smoke screen, which honestly I think is really scummy. But it's just kind of like, I just keep coming back to the Bethesda one. It's like, you're so full of shit. Was this comment typed by Pete Hines?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about that, because I'm not going to tiptoe around as much as you guys are. These companies don't give a shit. These companies do not care about any of this. Look at Bethesda out there. Look, they've changed their profile because it's June for Pride Month, and they put this out, hashtag Black Lives Matter. Tell them we stand united with Black communities to listen and speak up against inequality, oppression, racism. Not just now, but always, hashtag Black Lives Matter. Of course, this is, almost a week after what happened. You didn't say anything when it happened. Only when people started coming in your comments and say, why aren't you saying something? Demand that you say something. It's something that is said at gunpoint is not trustworthy, right? In a lot of ways, like interrogations and stuff, right? Interrogations under duress, a lot of times people will just say what they think you need to hear so you stop doing it. And then what does Bethesda do? Where is that? I need to find that.
By any chance?
Here it is. And then look at Bethesda. This is what they do for Pride Month, right? Like I said, they've changed the rainbow flags, except one in the Middle East. Because guess what? They will get backlash if they do that on their Middle East account. These companies don't care about you. They don't care about anyone. They don't care about your skin color, your sexuality. They don't give a shit. All they care about is your money, and they don't want any outrage that might prevent someone from closing their wallet.
By any chance, did you see the Blizzard one?
Oh yeah, of course. World of Warcraft delayed something too. They delayed a stream. They didn't care when it was Blitzchung who was having his voice not heard. They didn't care about what was going on in Hong Kong. Because the Chinese market, they need the Chinese market. They didn't want to get in trouble with the Chinese government. And it's just absolutely disgusting.
I
think it is very disgusting. Like, to use something like this as a smokescreen, I think that's just, how do you do that? Like,
it comes down to a lack of principles. Like they want to take a stance in order to show that they support thing at time that it's fashionable to support thing, but they're not willing to say, put the rainbow flag on their profile picture in the Middle East, which is a place where showing that you're in support of gay rights and gay people, like the LGBT community, being treated equally and not discriminated against in a place where they do face discrimination, would be standing on principles and saying, we are willing to accept the loss of money that will happen if we take this stance in this market because we genuinely believe in it. And instead it's like, no, we're going to do the things that are fashionable to do at the time. It's sort of, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Lonely Island movie, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. He does the guy, Andy Samberg. He plays this kind of Justin Timberlake like pop star. And he has this song about gay marriage, but it's after gay marriage is like already allowed. And at the end, after the song, it cuts to Ringo Starr, like from the Beatles. And he's just like, he made a song about gay marriage as if it's not allowed. It's allowed now. So it's sort of the thing. It's like, yeah, you put the rainbow flag up when it's being gay is fine. Like, no one really cares if you were gay. No one's really going to discriminate against you in modern day. But in a place like the Middle East, where you will actually face real legitimate discrimination, it's like, maybe we don't support the gays there, though. And I don't know. It's silly.
And Steph in the chat makes a good point. Demand they say something, then that they pay out, then demand more diversity, and then they still get canceled for something small. And that's exactly what happened to Nintendo. And I did say, listen, since Jeremy wasn't here, we wouldn't have to talk about Nintendo. The lie detector test determined that was a lie, because we do have to talk about Nintendo bending the knee. It looked like they weren't going to say anything, that they were just going to stay apolitical, but then they didn't. They put out this message about they share the pain felt in the United States after the tragic death, and we stand with those in the Black community, all the same things that all these other companies are putting out. Then what is the first thing to show up in the comments? Okay, then make more Black characters in your game. Let's see. There's tons of other ones. There were tons of other ones as you scroll through here, like, okay, why don't you donate like Ubisoft did? Why don't you donate like Square Enix did? Why don't you donate money to these things? Hi, Nintendo, trans people haven't forgot about this. Nice try at trying to be performative. Open your purse like Square did, says this person. It is never enough when you try to bend the knee to these types of people who are demanding that you take action for a certain cause.
Have you seen the ones where it's it wasn't Nintendo? I know for a fact it wasn't Nintendo. I can't remember who it was, but there's quite a few of them where they have ex-employees in the comments section just blasting them, being like, "You are full of shit. I worked there for years, and you were never like this." Blah 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 blah. I think the one I think it was DreamWorks. It's not gaming, but I've seen a few where they've got employees, ex-employees, in the comments, calling them out on their own nonsense. But I do like the meme that's popped out of this where it's like brand, insert brand here, because these things are all worded the same.
Yeah, exactly. They're all the same exact thing. And I do understand it to a point. They're trying to show unity and solidarity, so that's why they're all the same message. But at the same time, it just seems so stupid. And of course, we have there is one simple out per stream. So Jeremy simps for Nintendo in the chat. At least Nintendo didn't bend bad as literally everyone else. Yes, it wasn't as bad. Low bar. But you're right. They didn't go as far as some other people did, but I was hoping they wouldn't be. I was getting ready to make this Nintendo praise video. It was going to be so funny, and I'm glad I didn't make it that day, because the following morning I saw this. Lancelot in the chat for $5. Blizzard banned a person for interrupting a Black Lives Matter protest in Warcraft. I haven't heard that. I'm interested to get more information on that, because that's insane. Thank you very much, Lancelot. And then Biggles Metz for $2 says, it isn't gay marriage, it was for gay rights, Mark.
Is that the Lonely Island song? Or
sounds like it.
I don't know. I watched the movie last week. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter.
I will debate you on this.
I'll trust the person who donated $2. I trust Biggles Metz. Thank you, Biggles Metz, for clearing that up for us. And it didn't just, the thing was, I was like, okay, social media posts, whatever. The thing then became, it started actually getting into games. So I saw it first from Drunk 3P Ho over on Twitter, tagged me in this. He went to play Call of Duty, and this pops up like before every time you load up Warzone. Black Lives Matter, a Black Lives Matter message. And I thought that was interesting that they're actually putting that into the game. And then not only that, you have Rockstar Games, who says Black Lives Matter. To honor the legacy of George Floyd, today from 2 to 4, we will be shutting down access to our online games. That is something that I thought was, I didn't expect we would see that. Literally, they're stopping their games in order to make a political statement. So people that have paid for this games, people that have been subscribers to whatever, have purchased this game, you're not going to be able to play it during this time because of a political message. Same thing happened with NBA 2K. They paused online play for 2 hours and provided players with free Black Lives Matter and I Can't Breathe shirts today. So when it gets to this point, I think that is going above and beyond. That is limiting access to your games to make a political statement. And that to me just doesn't sit right.
Marcus Cyborg, he had a possible theory on some of them.
I think the games like Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Online pulling down was probably they needed to be pulled down for maintenance anyways, and they just decided, okay, let's schedule the maintenance during George Floyd's funeral and make it so that we can go on Twitter and score some social media brownie points to do maintenance that we were going to be doing anyways. I mostly know this because I used to play a lot of Destiny. Like I was in a clan and did raids 3 times a week and everything. And there would always be situations where they'd be like, okay, Destiny's being pulled down for maintenance on blank time. And they would post that on their like Twitter. And you would know that during that time, you can't play Destiny. And it's just the game is down. There's no offline mode in that game. So it's just like that's a game you paid for that you now have limited access to, because online games need to have maintenance anyways. So I think if an online game says we're going to pull our game down in order to support political cause, it's like, well, you might have just needed to do maintenance and you're using the political cause as like an excuse to do maintenance and brownie points. So I don't know. That's what I think happened. Yeah. I don't have anything to base that on, but I think it's likely.
It could be. Well, specifically in the 2K case, people were still able to move around. They just wouldn't let you play. People were still able to go in there and like wear their shirts and everything and do things, but you couldn't actually play the game.
I almost like respect that a bit more, because that shows they legitimately were trying to make an actual stand as opposed to like hiding maintenance behind a political cause, which is what I think Rockstar was probably doing. But again, based on nothing, that's just me speculating, but based on what I know about online live service games. So.
Well, and then Lethal just sent me this article, which I actually saw yesterday. Infinity Ward promises we know we have to do more as it steps up action against racist abuse in modern warfare. So now they're actually saying that they're going to take all these steps to stop hate themselves, add additional resources to monitor and ID racist content, add additional in-game reporting systems to increase the number of bans by hour, add filters and greater restrictions on name changes, evaluate in-game improvements to make it easier to report offenses, and increase permanent bans to root out repeat offenders.
I'm gonna call bullshit on this one. I play this game quite a bit. When the cough started really going around, like at its peak, I guarantee, man, and I saw it myself, whenever you logged into this game, everyone's clan tag was COVID-19, and there was no talk of censoring that.
That's true. Yeah, it's like it's because they're asked, right? It's because they make a statement, Black Lives Matter, on Infinity Ward's Twitter page. Then what happens? Well, why don't you do this? I got harassed. One person says, I got harassed because of my race on your servers. What are you going to do about that? Then you have to do something about that because you answered this call. And it just is a spiraling effect. These companies don't care. They're just trying to save face.
I was playing against a 12-year-old who made a sexist remark about my mother.
Exactly.
Oh god, according to Xbox, man, after I played Xbox 360, I could never look at my mother the same way. I was like, oh, you fucking dirty, like, oh my god.
Well, it's just they're walking down such a slippery road, because if you start saying like, oh yeah, now in Call of Duty there's going to be absolutely no harassment of any kind, it's like, well, you basically got to just eliminate all players' ability to communicate with each other, like flat out. There's no way you're going to be able to actually police that. So I don't know. I think by saying we're gonna put an end to this, it's like, all right, well, you're gonna have your work cut out for you. You're gonna spend more time moderating the game than you're gonna be improving it and making updates for it.
I just don't. Same as Ryan. I just don't believe these people actually believe what they're saying. Like, I am positive that 99% of the world's population was appalled at that footage. It was horrible, right? But a video game company telling me this stuff, I don't believe you.
We were more united. Listen, we were more united about this one instance than I think anyone ever has been when it comes to an instance of police brutality. So the idea that this is all spiraled off of that is just so stupid. And I think clearly shows there's a lot of people right now that want us all to be fighting. And that's what we're doing.
Just touching on what Jedi Padawan Tano there said about voice chat being bad. There were even complaints about the emote-based chat in Hearthstone, which is like Blizzard's kind of Warcraft card game, because you could do things like say sorry, and a lot of people would say sorry right before they just like nuke a person and like totally destroy them. And there were people in the community who were like, it is harassment when they say sorry before they like devastate my character that way. It's like, well, Is it though? Like, or are you just sensitive to the point that you think someone cheekily saying sorry before they win against you is harassment? So like if they decide that they want to make it so that players can't troll each other, can't harass each other in any way, it's going to become all they are able to do, and ultimately it will result in saying, okay, no multiplayer games anymore. We're just gonna have everybody play against.
You can't kill someone. That's harassment in a multiplayer game. You can't kill someone in Call of Duty. They feel attacked. Just walk around together. That's it.
I know. Well, I think we all know what actual harassment is, and some 12-year-old talking trash in a microphone to me is just, if it's that big of a deal, just mute the kid. Seriously. Unplug your headphone. Press mute on the profile. Go into a custom game. Like, there's literally a dozen ways around it already built into every online game.
Sure.
I don't know. Don't these people play games? Don't they have phones?
I will say too, if you're someone that gets a lot of glee out of hearing someone get viciously trolled on voice chat and in a game, just go watch some Rust compilations, because those are some of the funniest things you can find on YouTube when people just decide to harass someone on Rust. It brings me great joy when I watch those. But you guys have anything else to say on this topic? I think, like, to me, it's just so clear. These are virtue signals. This doesn't mean anything. These companies are garbage.
I've got one thing to say, just to lighten the mood a bit. I come from the generation of playing Modern Warfare 2 after school on the Xbox 360. Yeah, motherfuckers don't know what real trash talk is.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Things you could say 10 years ago, like you can't say that in voice chat right now. Talk about getting canceled. Your whole life will get canceled if you say some of that stuff. But
I still carry the scars. That was rough. That was rough.
Yeah, for sure. But I wanted to move on to something else. Something that you guys should have seen how excited Mark was. How excited Mark was when he heard this news, and it has to do with Bloodborne and, of course, a PC. Mark, why don't you look at that? Let me show that here. Let's look at that.
I am a rather large fan of Bloodborne.
Large. Tell us about the news.
Okay, so there's a rumor. I'm going to be making a video about this later today as well. That might be out tomorrow, but I'll basically tell you everything I'm going to say in the video here today. Still watch the video, though. We need the views. There's a rumor that Bloodborne is going to be remastered, not just re-released, for PC and PS5. Famously, Bloodborne did not get a PS4 Pro patch. And the game, while I love the game, I think it's a very well-designed game and that it is a lot of fun once you get used to it. The game runs like sheer trash. It can barely hold 30 frames a second for the entire game. It is the most poorly performing From Software game other than maybe Demon's Souls, and Demon's Souls is stuck on PS3. And it really always deserved better. I always thought it was a little stupid that they didn't do a PS4 Pro patch for it to at least get the game running at a constant locked 30 frames a second. But it's a really fantastic game with a really cool story. It sort of begins as like a Bram Stoker's or like vampires and werewolves thing. And then as you progress through the game, minor spoiler, it kind of evolves into more of a cosmic horror Lovecraftian story. And it's got really, really cool bosses, very, very good combat, but it is a poorly performing game. It does not run well at all. So that game being brought to PC is, of course, my biggest dream, and being brought to PS5 and actually running at a stable frame rate, hopefully at 60, will be fantastic for console players as well. So I really hope that is not just a rumor and that it actually happens.
Would you rather a remaster or a sequel?
Probably a remaster. Honestly, like, I mean, as much as it's like, okay, no, a new game would be better, that game is far too good to run the way it runs. So honestly, I don't think it needs a remaster. I think they could probably just patch it for PS5 and have it run much better. But apparently they're going to remaster it with, the rumor is they're remastering it with like new textures and maybe some new character models and things like that, and some quality of life changes, and then up it to, the rumor said 4K 60, but saying as the game had trouble running at 1080p 30, I think 1080p 60 would probably be the better target to shoot for, at least for consoles. obviously a PC, you can run it at just whatever your PC can handle. But that playing Bloodborne at 60 frames a second would be so good. I would absolutely love to replay Bloodborne at a solid frame rate.
I never played Bloodborne. Hey, I never got around to it.
If you've been getting through Neo, it's easier than Neo.
Oh, really? I'll make it my bitch then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked it up used at GameStop years ago. I played through it a little bit. I probably played it for about like 2 or 3 hours. It's fun. It's good. I do agree though. I played it for PS4 and there were just issues. And even for me to realize that there's issues while playing it, that says a lot because usually I don't give a shit about anything like that. But guys, we do have someone who wanted to make an appearance. He heard about Nintendo. He heard about Nintendo bending the knee. He decided that, I said, fuck this stream, but I guess I'm going to come now. Jeremy is here.
I am not going to stand by why we do nothing but talk about fucking frame rate and talk bad about Nintendo. And Lethal finally makes a good point for the first time since he's been at Geeks Gamers, and Mark interrupts him to say, hey to X-Ray Girl. This has been a disaster. No, I'm kidding.
It's true.
Kick him off.
I wasn't talking about a Nintendo game having a bad frame rate. I was talking about a PS4 game that I actually love. Like, I have a tattoo of Dark Souls with I can't really get in there. That is the hunter's mark from Bloodborne in the middle of my Dark Souls tattoo.
Mark still not understanding the joke.
Like trash.
I will defend myself.
Oh no, I just wanted to hop on in. So hi everyone. I don't know what we're talking about at the moment. So
frame rates and Bloodborne.
We're talking about Bloodborne. This rumor that's basically confirmed. I think at this point it's safe to say it hasn't been officially announced, but one of the things that was supposed to go down during the PS5 event that got delayed was that Bloodborne was supposed to be revealed to be a remaster coming to the PS5 and PC. So obviously Mark's really happy about that. But a
little more slowly.
No, we don't need to talk about your third leg. But Jeremy, since you're here, I want to get your take on all of the delays. I saw it looked like in the comments you were surprised you hadn't heard about the Call of Duty thing. What's your take on all this bullshit?
So yeah, if I because I have been kind of listening, because I've been doing other stuff. But so was that like they put like this Black Lives Matter thing, like when you go sign online to play? Is that what it was?
Yes, you have to press X to get past it to start the game.
What? It's just unbelievable, man. And yes, I know that it's kind of gotten to the point where I can't even make a point about Nintendo without the memes coming in that I'm stemming from Nintendo. But it's true. I mean, look, if I have to play fucking Mario Kart and press X to see like their political message every fucking time, or if they're doing their blackout pictures, or if they're donating charity, if they're saying we're gonna actively ban you if you don't line up with our political opinions, that's next level shit. You know what I mean? Like, I am not happy that Nintendo released the statement, and really they only released a statement because of the mob coming after them. But it has to be noted that the way they've handled it is far less ridiculous than literally every other company right now. It is so stupid what's going on. I think Ryan made the point earlier. I can't think of another thing that's happened since maybe 9/11 where the country was more unified after we all saw that video of what happened to George Floyd. I can't think of another like rational thinking human being on the planet, regardless of political opinions, regardless of age, race, gender, political opinions, religious affiliation. We were all unified in saying that was horrible. This is terrible. This is unbelievable. And what happens when you have that unification? Then they want to divide, and they want to send all of this crazy nonsense out there. It's just, we can't enjoy anything anymore. Movies, video games, sports, it's all bogged down by politics, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm so sick and tired of it. So, yeah.
This is
I didn't know that.
When you go into Warzone, this is the load screen.
Like every time you load a game, we have a super chat from Anita.
What happened to the rest of that name? It used to be Anita Handjib, is
Yeah,
whatever it was.
I know. Anita for $2.99. Jeremy is so hard for Nintendo.
I am.
love
I
it.
am. I think about this. Ask yourself this question. If every single company handled this situation like Nintendo, how much better would things be in the gaming industry right now? One little statement without they did it on their own colors with Nintendo. It ain't like they did the whole standard thing. Like, think if every company did it like Nintendo. One statement, no donating, no threatening your fan base, no forcing you to click X to play Mario Kart before you play the fucking game.
You didn't
How
hear
much
about
better?
that. You didn't hear about the Animal Crossing stuff?
I
What
think they
Animal
need
Crossing?
feedback.
Yeah. Now they have Black Lives Matter available for purchase for like carpet and like wall covering and stuff in Animal
But again, that's
Crossing.
an option. But again, that's an option.
I'm just
okay?
kidding. I just made that up.
Okay.
I just
But
made that up.
even so, like,
And he still defended
like
it.
I am blown away. I am blown away by the fact that they force you to press X to play the game. Like, they're
Yes.
shoving their political opinion right there to say, basically, you
have
can't
to
play this
accept the
game.
statement.
You have to accept our political statement before you play the game that you purchased with your fucking money. What the fuck? This is ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, it really is. And that's when it got to me. Like, everything else is stupid and kind of like laughable. The fact that these companies are pretending to care about shit. It's annoying that streams and like stuff like that and reveals are getting delayed. But when it comes to stuff that you have purchased, that you are paying for actively, that now they are using it to push a political message, whether it's GTA and Red Dead Redemption, getting online services cut off for 2 hours to pay respects to some political message, that is when I start to see it as an actual problem.
They're taking the money we spend on their products, and then they are forcing us to have to listen. Like, could you imagine if a company said, before you play this game, you need to accept the Make America Great Again? Could you imagine the fucking uproar? You know what I mean? Like, Black Lives Matter is a political opinion, okay? It does not mean it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It doesn't mean what they claim it means. Look what Drew Brees woke up one day and had a penis, okay? And then he shared an opinion and he lost his penis. He has no penis. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. All because he shared an opinion. And the political propaganda has taken the man's penis away. He had a penis for 40 years. And he gave one opinion that didn't line up with the mob. He lost his penis.
In that case, I vow to never share opinions. You've now frightened me into never, ever sharing an opinion.
I'm just blown away, man. But anyway, that's where I'm at with it. I'm just sick and tired of this shit, man. And when I heard that, again, this is next level now where they're forcing you to, before you can play the game, to accept it. That was next level for me. So, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Subhuman with a $2 super sticker. Gives the old fist bump. Thank you, Subhuman. Appreciate that. And then Wario Fan 76, $2. Give a mouse a cookie and he'll want a glass of milk. Very, very true. And that's what we're seeing, right? As soon as you cave to the mob, they're just going to ask for something else. That's what's happening.
It's why I think Reggie from Nintendo, formerly of Nintendo, Reggie Fils-Aimé, kind of had the best stance on it. And he's like, we're here to make video games, not to make political statements. Other people can do that. That's just we're just here to make video games. And I think that more entertainment companies should be focusing on that. More actors should be focusing on stuff like that, because ultimately there are political commentators that people go to in order to hear political opinions and get insight into political issues. And for the most part, that your entertainers you're not going there for that. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are politically active that just want to know that their favorite actor or favorite singer has all the same political opinions that they do, so they crave that. But ultimately it's like, well, you don't really know what anyone actually thinks, because most of what you see, like, this is kind of Jeremy's famous Twitter isn't real life claim. That's like, you don't really know what these people actually think. They're just saying what they think you want to hear. So I think ultimately they would be able to avoid a lot of grief by just being like, yeah, we just don't do that. Like, that's not what you come to us for. So don't.
I'm going to show you exactly why these companies are doing this shit right here. Look at this right here. Look at this. Give me a screen share. Look at this. Okay. This is Nintendo of America's Twitter account. Okay. Oh, I mean, that's pretty good traction, you know. Smash Bros. Ultimate 3,200 likes or favorites, right? Yeah, this one got 157,000 fucking favorites for 157,000 people that don't give a flying fuck about Nintendo. All right, next post, 3,200. Next post, 2,400. Next post, 1,400. 2,000. 1,400. Look at the discrepancy when if you get on Twitter and share a fucking political opinion, they will Game Explain, one of my favorite YouTube channels. They are all in on this bullshit. You know what I mean? And you look at when they talk about these things, look at every company, go to their Twitter feed, look at the difference in their normal post versus the traction they get when they post about the trendy political opinion. They get so many interactions, and in their minds, they're thinking, oh, yeah, we're going to get so many customers out of this. You're not going to get shit. You're not getting shit. They don't care about you.
A like costs nothing.
Yeah.
A like costs nothing.
It's so frustrating, man. So frustrating.
True. It's sad that Reggie's not at Nintendo anymore. You know, that used to be the policy, and Reggie was there. No politics, only focused on gaming. Now he's with GameStop, where the policy is.
Let's be fair. Nintendo has there has been instances in the past where Nintendo has responded to the mob. They have. Remember the Game & Watch scenario, you know, where people were offended over that. There's been little instances in the past where they have responded like this. This situation with them is not the way they've responded to this is not, it's not completely, you know, out of left field per se. They have responded in the past.
Now, do you think that a big part of that is because so much of what they do is still headquartered in Japan, like as far as who's setting like and dictating stuff? Do you think that is why Nintendo is not as, you know, bending the knee as much, where you have a company like Sony who more and more is shifting stuff over to the United States when it comes to PlayStation, and that's why they seem to cuck out a lot more often?
Well, I mean, there's the I've talked about this many times as a Nintendo fan. The good thing about Nintendo is also the bad thing about Nintendo. You know what I mean? They are so aloof on so many things, and they make so many fucking weird decisions sometimes. You know, they do things that you're just like, how do you make the greatest games on the planet and yet make the dumbest fucking decisions on the planet at the same time? How do you have the worst online infrastructure, yet you can create Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey? How can you do all of these things? How do you have this anti-YouTuber policy where it literally would market games better for you? You know, they have weird ways of doing things. But that's why they typically are out of this political stuff, because they just don't give a shit about this thing. They don't have people that are worried about what's going on with the political sphere. So that's the blessing and the curse with them. You know, it's why they're great at what they do, and it's why they make a lot of weird, strange, boneheaded decisions. It's why they made the worst decision ever in naming the fucking Wii U the Wii U, which was the worst decision on the planet. They thought that because the Wii sold 100 million copies, that the Wii U was going to sell 100 million copies. They didn't realize that grandma made up 85% of the Wii sales. They had no idea. You know what I mean?
Like, oh, it's like just the same thing. It's like the PS4 Pro.
Right. Yeah, you know, like that mom that goes to GameStop that her son wants the PlayStation 4, and the mom goes in there to say, hey, I need a new Nintendo. You know, that's the people that they were marketing to. Like, it was never going to be successful like that. So again, it's a double-edged sword with them, but this is why they just don't. This is not their game. They don't care about these things. They care about their characters, their IP, and protecting their characters and their IP. This is why they had such bad PR with the anti-YouTuber stance that they had for so long, until finally someone woke up at Nintendo, you know, and corrected that. But I think that's what it comes down to.
Everyone in the chat's pressing X to get to the stream.
The what?
Instead of pressing X to get into the
game. Oh man, that's good. Let's read a couple of these. So the Vigilant for $4.99, thank you so much. Is it really a political opinion when we know that these people don't give a damn and are just hopping on the bandwagon?
I mean, it is a political opinion because it's meant to that this is all about an election in November. So it is a political opinion. It might be a stupid political opinion. It may be an ignorant one, but it is based in politics, 100%. Yeah. So
I don't know. I think it's mostly the bandwagon.
Do you think this stuff will end around your election? Or
it absolutely will. Did you guys see?
It'll all die down.
Did you guys see the thing I shared last night?
No.
Right here. Like right here. I shared it on Friday Night Tights. This right here. Indisputable evidence of everything I just said. Indisputable evidence right here. Bam. This is the Black Lives Matters trends over the last 4 years. Do you see where it peaked? Right there.
2016.
Right before where the fucking election in 2016. It died down. Of course, we probably had a couple of instances, and it's completely dead, completely dead, completely dead. Oh, look where the spike is. What's coming up in just a few months? Where do we end an election year? This is all about politics. Black Lives Matter when there's an election. That's it. That's what it comes down to right there. So,
Yep.
it's just it's disgusting. It's disgusting. A dude lost his life.
Yeah.
But
and it's awful. Like what happened to that dude is bullshit.
100%.
We all agree, basically. Like,
yes, I mean, again, it's like you can't just say what needs to be said. What needs to be said is those 4 cops abused their power. The guy, Derek Chauvin or whatever his name was, he should be locked away forever, if not get even a harsher penalty than that. He should never see the light of day. And I believe that the other 3 cops are complicit in that situation. I mean, I respect police officers. I respect law enforcement. I respect first responders. But they are also trained to protect the public. And you have been trained to take that situation that is a terrible situation. It's escalated by an individual, and you have trained to handle it. And they all failed. They failed themselves. They failed that guy. They failed their community. They failed all of us, and they should all be held accountable. But saying that, apparently, it makes me a racist.
Well, obviously.
That's
where's your black square, Jeremy?
Yeah, exactly. It's just so fucking stupid. So.
Crofu for $5 says Black Lives Matter is a known violent organization, should never be celebrated. All lives matter as long as you're not a violent criminal. Thank you for the super chat, Crofu.
And I want to make a point. This is probably the first Gaming with Geeks podcast where we have went into politics at all. We typically we're trying to keep this, politics out of these, but right now it's impossible to not talk about it. It's absolutely impossible because it's
I'm doing my best to try to stay apolitical during this conversation, and it has been hard.
I uploaded a video on Gaming with Geeks talking about the delay with Call of Duty Season 4. And before I did it, I sent a message to Ryan. I said, is this going to look weird, me not being an American talking about this?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
we're trying to dance around it as best as possibly can.
I don't give a shit. Look at my Sports Wars.
Look at his
video.
Sports Wars, dude. He got killed on Sports Wars, right?
I was talking with Ryan on Discord, and he goes, "Yeah, check out my Sports Wars video." And I did. I was like, "Oh, I feel better."
Yeah, that one. Those comments are rough. But that's
what was worse? What was worse, that one or your Nintendo one on Geeks and Gamers?
Well, listen. This is the difference. The Nintendo one on Geeks and Gamers, it's a bunch of autists screaming at me because I don't want a 15th Fire Emblem character added to Nintendo. That's pretty easy to brush off as literal retards. The one on Sports Wars, it's just a bunch of people saying I'm a racist. Like that's what that's just straight up is like, your show should be canceled because you racist. That's what all of them say. So that one's a little rougher, but it probably got more views too. But Cellmate for $5. The moment I started watching this podcast, I hear he lost his penis. Besides that, how are you? I'm a bit stressed from everything happening.
No, it is. It's depressing. It's just depressing, So, but it's part of it. There, Mark wants to give you a positive spin. Go ahead, Mark. Say hey, X-Ray Girl too.
Happy Canadian. We're probably the most cartoon-like of all the peoples.
Yeah,
just look at Krista.
I don't actually think I'm like that stressed out or depressed by it. Like, I'm angry a lot anyway, so it's just another thing to be angry about, I suppose. It'll pass just like all things, and these companies will forget everything that they've tweeted out. No one's going to care. Like, that's just that's the fucking truth of the matter. That's the truth of the matter, that in a couple weeks time, this is going to die down and we're all going to be back to playing video games again, and no one's going to give a shit. That's the unfortunate part.
I rip on America quite a lot because, quite frankly, it's so fucking easy and it makes me feel better about myself. But honestly, I do. Like, I've been messaging people. I'm like, just please stay safe. I just want everyone to stay safe during these crazy times until it all dies down, and just get back to some level of normality. But yeah, again, I don't want to get into my political view on it.
Well,
I just want everyone to be safe.
Speaking of some level of normalcy, let's talk about this next topic, and that's Ubisoft being bitches. Ubisoft angers consumers over Trackmania subscription model. So if you didn't look at this story, this is Trackmania, which, let's be real, this is not a game that I'm really interested in playing, but they added an unwelcome subscription feature to its new installment, and consumers are understandably frustrated as they will evidently never own the full game. Now, they tried to, so as explained, the game will offer tiered access, starter access, which is free, standard $9.99 per year, and club access $29.99 per year. They tried to say that this was not a subscription.
They tried, it's not a loot box. It's a surprise mechanic on this.
Yeah, that's exactly what Ubisoft tried to say, was that it's not a subscription. It is simply you're paying money to access the game. But then the next year comes around and guess what? You need to pay more money to access the game. So it's the definition. That's like saying that Netflix, you don't have a subscription to Netflix. You're just paying $14.99 for this month. And then if you want to continue playing next month, you'll have to pay another $14.99, which is a fucking subscription service. So Ubisoft is getting absolutely trashed over this. I know, Mark, you've heard all about this, right?
Yeah, and like Trackmania, it's not a new game; it's a series. Like, and the Trackmania games are actually they're pretty wild. Like, it's sort of a crazy off the wall racing game version of like Mario Maker, where like people make their own tracks, and the ones made by the developers are usually like off the wall nuts. So it is a fun game, and I do recommend trying some of the older Trackmania games. But it's weird to me that Ubisoft decided to make Trackmania the place where they would experiment with this business model, because it is sort of a niche game that involves having a community of people making tracks for the game in order for it to be successful. So to make it such a difficult game, like if anything, I think they should have gone the other direction and just made it a free-to-play game where you can buy things in order to make your creations crazier. And that might have been better, but having it be like, no, you flat out can't play this game forever unless you're giving us money every year is, to me, insane. I don't know why they thought this would go over well.
Yeah. And the other thing is, too, one of the statements in here that I thought was really stupid was, here it is. To make matters worse, Nvidia's founder, Hylas, has contradicted several already off-putting statements made about the game. They insist that the 2020 release is not a subscription model, but rather a sport club license model. This failed attempt at glorifying annual subscription did not go over well with players. He eventually told fans, yes, it's a subscription, and he went on to note, while they have no intention of granting lifetime access to the game, they hope players will renew their subscription if the game's servers are still supported. So that comment makes the premium 3 years for $59.99 option seem risky if they're going to wait to see if more people subscribe before they extend the life on the servers. So if you pay 3 years at a time, there's no guarantee that it's even going to be around.
It's just ridiculous. This is a little off topic, but not really. But I don't know if I played the Trackmania games. So do you think I would enjoy them, Mark?
Maybe, I mean, they're like, it's basically like picture like if you have an F1 car on a roller coaster. I guess is probably the best way to describe it. And it's more based on like time trial, like, or at least all the Trackmania games I played, it's just you on the track. So it's not like racing against other players, but it's sort of like the challenge is actually getting to the end of the track and then trying to do it faster than you did before. And like,
B Carswell, yes, we will be playing. I'm sorry, Jeff Francis, we will be playing Mario Kart tomorrow on Twitch. And but B Carswell said it's not a subscription because we called it a different name. And so and then I did see Hologram Nunchuck said Titanfall 2 is my next game. Mark's video sold me.
Oh, hey,
nice
cool
work. Nice
Thank
work.
You, Hologram Nunchuck. Yeah, everyone
Mark should get a commission out of that.
Yeah, that one took me a lot of work. No, I don't need a commission. Just play.
I mean, for Titanfall, it's only he's only going to get about 3 cents out of it.
What, you don't have $5? Lethal, I want to hear you bitch about this, about Ubisoft.
I'm got a different take on this. I respect the fuck about how they can bullshit with a straight face and just keep doubling down on it. Just sit there and just keep lying and lying and lying and lying and lying and not slip up on your own lies. But everyone knows you're lying. EA couldn't do it. EA got caught red-handed in court. These guys, Ubisoft, though, I want them to keep going. I want another statement from them because I enjoyed listening to you read that. That was funny. I respect the comedy in it.
No.
I mean, it's a subscription.
Yeah,
Clearly.
no, it's absolutely what it is.
But it's not because we said it's not.
Is this Trackmania, Mark?
The one I'm sharing is Trackmania Stadium, and this game is $10.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to throw that on the screen for a second, but
It's already on the screen.
You can get this game for $10 on Steam right now, and it's Trackmania Stadium. It's good. It's the one I've played. It's got
No,
very
it's
positive
$10.99. How long do you get to play it?
forever.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
So yeah, if you're itching to play a Trackmania game, maybe just get Trackmania Stadium because
I'll look into it. I feel like I've played them before, but I can't remember. But I mean, any kind of racing games, car games, I'm always a fan. Like the F1 games are phenomenal. Those games are fantastic.
Yeah, I love the F1 games.
Mm-hmm.
Sheev Burger in the chat. Thank you, Sheev Burger, for $4.99. Says IGN. The campaign. This is an IGN review. The campaign is short and not a lot of content. Same graphics and no updates to previous installments. All in all, 8.9 because we visited the studio.
That profile picture, man. That profile picture.
Yeah, it looks like an IGN reporter.
No. That's a good imitation, actually, Mark. Good job.
I'm gonna tap out there because I imagine if I said more, my impression of Sheev would get worse.
I hate that his name is Sheev. That is so dumb.
That's no lie.
Culture Casino for $2. Continue avoiding the anti-consumer companies. Unfortunately, it's hard.
I don't even know if there's any left at this point. I mean,
Jeremy, hold on. Prediction: Jeremy's going to say Nintendo, and then him and Mark are going to get in an argument.
I'm going to say CD Projekt.
I would say that there's an argument made that Nintendo's anti-consumer if you're depending on the perspective you're looking at it. I look at it as just giving me good games that I want, but they do a lot to withhold the experience for consumers, especially like from an online perspective. There's no excuse for Nintendo to have such shitty online infrastructure in 2020. There's not, but. Good news is, if you still are a Nintendo fan in 2040, they might have Xbox Live standards by then. Current 2020 Xbox Live standards, maybe. But right now, consumers just are not it's about social media, man. It's about being woke on social fucking media. That's the most important thing to these fucking companies, man. That's all they care about. That's it.
Well, and speaking of, and maybe I want to get Lethal's take on this. This is a surprise topic. I think I put it in our chat real quick, but I just wanted to, Sony's fucked us a couple times in a couple different ways over the past couple weeks, but the poor Australians. Sony fined $3.5 million for misleading Australian consumers.
Ooh, justice.
Now, I would like to get to the bottom of whether that's $3.5 million actual dollars or $3.5 million Australian, because obviously it's a lot more
probably Australian.
Lots more impactful if it's American. But besides the point here, Sony Europe, which controls Sony in Australia, has been fined $3.5 million Australian dollars. Never mind, it's only like $2 million. No big deal. For misleading Australian customers over its refund policy. Well, they like to make it hard for you to refund their games or to cancel your pre-order for Last of Us Part 2.
Last of Us 2, canceling the pre-order was not easy. I had the digital copy pre-ordered, and I had 3 separate conversations with chat bots until I eventually finally got on with an actual person, and then had to talk to that actual person for a solid 15 minutes and provide screenshots and specific days that I pre-ordered it in order for them to process it. And I actually finally did get my money back. But man, it was not like on Steam where it's just like request refund and then it automatically comes on your Steam account like in 2 days.
Damn. So the company's been ordered to pay this amount in penalties for making false and misleading representations regarding Australian consumer law rights. and then they have the full thing there. But basically, they denied refunds for a couple different reasons. The game was purchased digitally and it had been 14 days since the purchase. The responses from Sony do not align with Australian consumer law, so the case went to court, and they got fucked. So they had to pay because Sony's being anti-consumer, and enough people made a stink about it. They were able to get money from Sony. So I thought Lethal would like to hear that.
Yeah, fuck them. Yeah, wrecked. I like it. I like that a lot. That's good. That's good.
Exactly.
Comply with our laws, motherfucker. You're gonna come in here and sell your games. You gotta comply with our laws, right?
Yeah, I think games, EB Games, I think got hit by because of the Fallout 76 collector's edition too. Like Australia was just like, yeah, you guys definitely have to provide people refunds for this. It seems like
that was
Australian consumer law is pretty solid.
Yeah,
whenever I hear you guys talk about EB Games, I'm always surprised because we don't have those anymore.
I'm pretty sure it's the same thing as GameStop.
It is. GameStop bought EB Games, at least in Canada, and then now it's just the same company.
Yep.
Yeah, we did have a big uproar about Fallout 76, and there was just so many people that pretty much just walked in and just said, "No, I want my money back," and it kind of caused like a backlog at EB Games because they had to take it all. And I think they had to ship them back as well because it was taking up too much room, like in the back of the store and all that. But there was a lot of people that wanted their money back because there was the whole thing with the duffel bag was a rip-off as well. Mm-hmm. It didn't look anything like the one that was advertised, and the power armor helmet. Apparently, that could get moldy, and you could get moldy
helmet.
Actually,
you'd have it in your room.
Tangible respiratory issues.
Yeah, ironically, hey, like a helmet that's supposed to help your fictional character survive in a nuclear wasteland is making you sick in real life. So that's pretty funny. But yeah,
and the old canvas bag. Yeah, that thing was a piece of trash. But
fuck them. Comply with our laws, motherfucker, or don't sell your shit here. Because
is this true? Jeff Francis says, "Isn't $3.5 million Australian dollars worth about $12.50 in US dollars?"
Since the riots, I think it's gone up a bit.
Well, so is our stock market, ironically.
Invest in the dollar-e-do. Returns are going to be big.
There you go. But I think that's all the plan talks we had. Jeremy, since you're here, is there anything Nintendo you want to talk about? Did they actually announce any new games or anything?
No, fuck no, and they're probably not going to for the next fucking month now, even if they had plans. So they don't want to offend any fucking body.
Yeah, it'd be just a disgrace if anyone announced Mario Party right now.
Seriously, if they announced like Mario Galaxy Remaster for the Switch, I mean that would be a direct stand against racism in America. So we definitely can't have that fucking announcement. I don't expect any announcements for the next few weeks or a month. So fucking stupid. So.
Oh, well, too bad. No Nintendo news, guys. All right. Wish we had something for you. I did just remember something about that helmet. I think only 7 of those helmets were actually sold and weren't returned. So they sold a total of 7 of those helmets to everybody.
Wow, the rest were returned. Wow.
Yeah, someone's probably hanging on to it like mint in box to be able to say the actual black mold version of the Fallout 76 Collector's Edition. Buy this and you do have to have it in a hermetically sealed chamber or it will kill you and your family.
I know the Outer Worlds is a new game for Switch, but isn't it the port's terrible, right?
Trash.
It's terrible.
The port for Xbox One and PS4 wasn't good. So that's why when they announced it for Switch, I'm like, ugh, it's gonna be rough.
Why are these ports turning out so bad?
Because they're trying to squeeze games onto hardware that can't run it so they can make more money. And they know that it's okay, if we sell a Switch version of this, even if it's running at 15 frames a second, as long as the game's there's going to be people who will buy it. And I think it's bad business practices.
We got Puddlegate. It's just like Spider-Man.
Puddlegate.
I love Puddlegate. No puddles in Outer Worlds.
I guess technically this would be Nintendo news. In light of the situation going on, obviously we run Mario Kart every Sunday. But in light of the recent news, I think it's only right that we fucking run Mario Kart tomorrow and not give a fuck if it fucking hurts your feelings. So fuck you.
That's true. That's exactly what we're doing. And we are going to be in honor of everything, we have decided that the proceeds from the fund on Sunday when we run Mario Kart are going to go straight to the Geeks and Gamers Pocket Fund. So that's where it's going. We think we really need to put it towards a good cause.
The
So
human fund, money for
decided
people.
Yeah.
Specifically Geeks and Gamers. So
Maybe I'll have Uche on. There we go. So
there you go. Fucking Uche, he's throwing me off my game. All I was thinking about was fucking beating him.
Oh, dude, having Uche on was gold, and his laugh is the best thing, dude.
I ain't ever heard no motherfucker laughing like that in 10th out of 12th place.
It's so good.
Yeah, makes you having fun.
So good.
But you guys have anything else on the plate? Anything else you wanted to cover real quick? Mark, Letho?
News-wise, no. I think we've pretty much covered all the topics. But obviously, it's been a pretty light week because everything's been canceled due to politics.
Yeah. I'm thinking about starting a GoFundMe for the. I do want to start a GoFundMe for the Mario Kart arcade. I really want that, so I might just start that. There's just some news right there.
Mario Kart arcade.
Yeah, you've never heard of Mario
coin
Kart
op arcade?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that was.
Yeah, there's two of them, and they're made by Capcom, which is shockingly enough. So it has Pac-Man in it, along with Mario. It doesn't feel like Mario Kart in terms of the controls, but it is Mario Kart. Mario Kart Arcade GP.
Is it like only in Japan or is it in?
No, they're in the
America
States
as well.
Yeah, they're in the States. I've played them in a Dave & Buster.
Yeah, I've seen a Dave & Buster's.
Yeah, I went to a Dave & Buster's when I went to Texas the last 4th of July to visit some friends of mine, and we went to a Dave & Buster's and there was a Tomb Raider arcade game that was like a light gun game. There was a Halo arcade game where you sit down and you've got these like big super huge guns.
Yep.
And I was just like, there's like full on arcade.
Namco, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Namco's who makes it. I'm sorry. Did I say Capcom? I thought it was Capcom's. So it's Namco.
Well,
okay.
Like Namco would be Pac-Man. Yeah. So that.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, it turns out, Mark, America's fucking awesome. So
yeah, no, I was like, wow.
Congratulations for learning.
I had no idea that the arcade scene was still like kicking that hard. I was like, wow, exclusive series from like.
Yeah, that Halo arcade game is pretty legit. I played that for the first time when I went with my family on a cruise, and they had like the little arcade set up last year, and I was like, holy shit, Halo! I've never seen this before. We played it for a while. It's pretty cool. So it's sad that arcades aren't the thing anymore, you know? Back in the day, I remember arcades used to be the jam. But not anymore. Dean approved, throwing a coin to your channel. That is awesome. Thank you, Dean approved. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of the support for the channel. Yeah, so thank you. And Dean approved gave us a big super chat during our Mario Kart stream the other night too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dean approved. Appreciate all you guys' support. We really do. Again, going to the charity of our choice, Geeks and Gamers.
Did you see what I said to Vito the other day? Vito was like arguing me about fucking J.J. Abrams and I said, well, Lethal played part in a Geeks and Gamers charity. How dare you question anything he's ever said? He played part in a charity, you know, like.
Vito, oh god.
He just hunts around looking for. Well, I'm not gonna. All right.
I still like Vito. I find Vito very funny.
I think Vito's a good dude. I think he's just like so dumb sometimes. Like, yeah, it's just like so frustrating. But anyway, let's end with what games we've been playing. I'll speak for myself first. I actually played SWTOR for the first time in a long time last night. Getting back into it. I might have to configure my settings a little bit to be streaming it from this computer, but I had a lot of fun, so I'm going to be doing more of that, and I'll probably finish up Arkham Knight tonight on my Twitch channel. And I've also been playing Titanfall 2 campaign, which you guys said it was short. I thought it was going to be like 3 hours. It's taken me longer than that, but I haven't died too much until the last one I was on.
I think it's longer than Modern Warfare, like the new Modern Warfare, I mean.
Well. There you go.
It's not a long campaign. Like, it's not going to take you like 30 hours or anything like that. But it's not like what is it, about 6? 6 or 8 hours? It's 6 to 8, depending on difficulty too. Because if you're playing on hard or master, especially master, actually, it might take you a little while. I think though Master is a little bit too hard to be fun. Like it's doable. I did get through it, but I was like, I think maybe hard might be the sweet spot difficulty for Titanfall 2.
We need
at
to
least
play
on
it.
PC.
We need to play it. I mean, I doubt it's going to pull a ton of viewers, but we might need to play it here on YouTube. Us four.
Let's get Uche on it
play on
too.
PC. Yeah.
I heard that Uche was once a nationally ranked Titanfall 2 player. So
Played against the best in the world.
Yeah, so we should get Uche on here too. I don't know what the Total War Troy nonsense is. Master
Oh, okay.
John.
Yeah, I can actually talk about that. So Epic Games,
not for
my
too long.
30 minutes later.
I can say this pretty quickly because it ties into why I don't like Epic Games and their exclusivity stuff. So
40 minutes later.
They bought Total War Troy as an Epic Games exclusive. I don't know if it's a timed exclusive or it's going to be forever, but on day one, it's free. So if you go on the Epic Games Store the day that Total War Troy comes out, you can just get the game for free forever, and you can't get it on Steam or GOG, which was, for me, kind of sucks. And apparently the Total War community is pissed because a lot of them do not like the Epic Games Store. So that's it.
There you go.
All right, Mark, make it happen.
Yeah, what the hell? Minuteman. I know
I made a whole video on why I don't like the Epic Games Store that is on this channel. You can watch my storefront wars video. I almost said storage wars.
Fucking joke that Mark ruined.
I'm just saying, yeah, like I didn't need to explain it in detail.
I have a tattoo that shows that I know I was going.
Yeah, my anti-Epic Games Store tattoo.
I was gonna say, before I was so rudely interrupted, I was gonna say that, wow, Mark, that was less than a minute. I know X-Ray Girl calls you Minute Man, but we know that's not because of how long you talk.
That is demonstrably false.
I know, and you fucking ruined it. Steph from My Nerdy Home for $5 says, I just went to the G&G Teespring store, and there were no onesies. I thought you said there would be onesies, Jeremy.
Hey, they don't offer onesies on there. I was under the impression they did, but
Who gave you that impression?
Huh? Well, people were like, everything's on Teespring. You can do everything. You can do pajamas. You can do socks. You can do so. I was like, oh, okay with them. But with that said, I'll still make it happen. I just was not. I just was under the assumption that because we're still going to have our Geeks and Gamers store, direct store as well. We're working on the logistics of that right now. So yeah, that's definitely going to happen. We got a lot. We have a lot to do. So.
Did you see Jade Shadow? She wants Geeks and Gamers lingerie, and I think that's a brilliant idea.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, we'll make that happen. So
priorities.
I'm gonna be like George Lucas with Star Wars. I will put that shit on anything. All right, I will put it on anything and sell it.
Are you gonna do it like you're gonna have like lettuce?
Yeah.
You had Force Awakens lettuce, BB-8 in front of some fucking cabbage or some shit.
The logo is the perfect bra, though. You know,
yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, this is brilliant.
Oh yeah, Kingdoms of Amalur. Kings of Amalur was an EA action RPG that was very well loved.
Talking about tits right now, literally.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to address the super chat, and that is more gaming news that I guess I forgot to bring up. The story was written by R.A. Salvatore, and the characters were designed by Todd McFarlane. It was a very kind of cult hit, well-loved game that sold terribly, and it's now getting re-released because THQ Nordic bought it, and they're finally putting it back out.
Nice.
Terrible title, though. Re-Reckoning, come on.
R.A. Salvatore wrote Vector Prime, and he also did the Attack of the Clones novelization. Thank you for that super chat, Crowfu, for bringing that to our My Nerdy Home with another $2 super chat. Let's also get some plushies of the team, Jeremy. Like Build-A-Bear, like Build-A-Lethal.
My webmaster's about to scream at me. They're like,
I'm
what
gonna
the
end
fuck?
up in a Tanuki suit, aren't I?
Tanuki suit Mark. There you go.
Squeeze my tummy and I say, I shout I'm
fuck are
adorable.
so many people? Oh, never mind. Mark's talking too much.
How's the EU lore video?
I like how Mark didn't say anything. I was like, Mark's talking too much, and he's just like,
how's the EU lore video coming? It's done. The script is almost done, bro. Buffett. I know I'm fucking late. Fuck you.
Yeah, cover.
I'm trying to do a Darth Maul video on something like how he got, not for gaming stuff, but how he got from locked up by Palpatine to where he was at the end of Clone Wars. Thank you guys so much.
thank you, Steph. Appreciate that.
There we go. Frank the Bunny says I can sign up unless I press X for BLM. Mark, we got to get through this. Mark, what are you playing?
Oh, okay. I've had a pretty eventful week as far as games go. I finished one of my dorky Japanese JRPGs, Trails from Zero, and I'm now on its sequel, Trails to Azure. Also not released in North America, so I had to get a gray market copy of it that works quite well, actually. So I've been enjoying that. I've also, as I said, played a fair amount of Valorant because the 1.0 launched, and a bunch of my army buddies and I really like playing it together. And you can see on the channel now, I posted part 1 of a full commentary-free playthrough of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. And I got about another 4 hours into it last night. I've got my footage captured for it, so I should have part 2 up within the next couple days, but they take forever to upload. So, yeah, played a fair amount of stuff this week.
There you go. Lethal, what about yourself?
Pretty quiet week, really. Bit of COD, Mortal Kombat, and Neo 2. That's about it.
There you go. Jeremy, have you been doing anything or just work on a website?
PGA Tour, Rory McIlroy, PGA Tour. I've been playing a lot of golf, just getting ready for The Last of Us Part 2 to release. So I've been practicing my swing, and I'm having fun. Seriously, I mean, I just put the game on as a joke, and I was like, you know what? I want to fucking play this. So I've been playing a lot of it.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for this 8th episode of the Gaming with Geeks podcast. We will be playing Twitch tomorrow. Mario Kart will be there. Other than that, we're going to see a Valorant video from Mark. I'm sure a couple other things from the rest of us later on today. But thank you guys so much for joining us. My guests, Mark, Lethal, and finally, Jeremy decided to show up. So that was good too. Make sure you guys check out the website. Keep it hush-hush though. No, we don't want to say it in public. We just want to announce it to 200 people. But thank you guys for being with us. We do appreciate all the love and all the support. And we will talk to you guys later. Peace.
Hooroo.